just kind of piggybacking on what you said earlier, Wendy, about the power of our minds and the power of intention. And I realized last night how not only the power of intention, but the power of writing things down and journaling really is. So about a year or so ago, I did a workshop with you, Wendy, and I pulled up the workbook last night that I did in your class. And I flipped to the back to read the letter that I wrote myself of how I wanted to be a year in the future. I don't even remember when it was, maybe a year and a half ago. And I was just blown away because I was reading this letter to myself that I had written about where I'm going to be, and this writing it in the present tense. And I'm literally currently living out all of those things I wrote about myself. I was just almost moved to tears last night. I was like, no way.
Welcome to Authentic Energy, a podcast dedicated to getting to the bottom of what it means to be your true, authentic self at work. I am your host, Wendy Brand. Let's take this learning journey together as I meet with guests weekly. Whether you are a leader or individual contributor, a teacher or a nurse, we'll share conversations and stories that highlight meaningful connections, self-awareness, a sense of belonging, and all the components necessary to create a workplace where you can show up in your authentic energy. Welcome back to the Authentic Energy Podcast. I am your host, Wendy Brand, and it is the countdown to the holidays. I hope that you're winding down from your work week and preparing for some quality time with family and friends over the holidays. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that this is episode 2 of 3 from our Let's Goal workshop that my colleague Jeshanna Forrister and I facilitated a few weeks ago. Last week, I shared clips from the values work that we did in the workshop to lay the foundation and ensure that once you actually create your vision and goals, that they are aligned to what's important to you and reflect what is true and authentically who you desire to be. So in this vision episode, there are 3 short parts. First, I share the neuroscience that supports the importance of setting a vision and writing down and voicing your goals. We prepare for a mindfulness exercise, and then I skip to the vision setting exercise. Finally, we'll hear from Valkyrie, one of our participants, as she shares her success with setting a vision in a workshop that I facilitated last year. So before we get into the episode, I just want to remind you that Jeshanna and I are hosting a retreat on January 20th and 21st in Green, Texas, and it's going to be at the Green River Hotel and Retreat. If you sign up before the end of December, you get $100 off your retreat cost, and you only need to pay $100 now to hold your spot. If you're looking for a special gift for someone that may enjoy this type of retreat, we can provide you with a gift certificate that you can put in their stocking once you make the purchase. We have a special room rate at the hotel if you'd like to stay with us in Green, but that is not mandatory. Our agenda will run from 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday to allow participants that live in San Antonio or Austin to drive home if they want to save on hotel. The Reveal Retreat has time allocated for rest and integrating what you learn, and there are opportunities to connect with like-minded people that are also looking to set a vision for 2024 and removing any barriers that may be stopping them from their success. I hope you'll check it out. But for now, here is the vision episode from the Let's Goal workshop. Well, glad you're here. We're going to shift gears a little bit, just a little bit. You know, we use our brain all day long. We are in our mind a lot. And as we start to envision what is possible for our future, what we want to do in 2024, who we want to be in 2024, I'm going to talk a little bit about just some of the science behind really how magnificent our brain is and how powerful our control is over what we are able to think and achieve. And I am not an expert in this field. I am not a scientist, but I've just done a lot of research over the last year. And I think across the board, there's been so many new discoveries that scientists have learned about our brain in the last decade or two. And so
we're going to do just a little mindfulness activity, kind of some embodiment, really get out of our brain a little bit and make that mind body connection. But before we do that, I'll just explain a little bit about what I've learned, share some of that with you guys, because most of the time our brains are either have us in the past rehashing a conversation we had with our boss, or I should have said this, or I should have done this, or our brain has us in the future, like stressing about a deadline, or when am I going to get this done? How am I going to do this? What about, it's either past or future based. And so where we have the most creativity and possibilities to open up for us are really when we are in the present. So when your body is in fight or flight, which is where it goes when you're constantly in that stress mode, thinking in the future or stressing about the past, your brain tells your body to release cortisol. And so when we let our brain know that we're not in danger, it's really amazing what can happen. So what scientists have found out, there's really 3 different parts of our brain that work together in goal setting and visualization. So our reticular activating system, the RAS, it's like a bouncer outside a bar. It regulates what our brain prioritizes. So its job is to regulate behavioral arousal, consciousness, and motivation. The amygdala creates emotions, which trigger that dopamine release. And the prefrontal cortex really controls our processing, problem solving, learning new skills, and tracking the value of action. So those 3 together, as an example, if you tell yourself, I'm going to have the best day, this is going to be the best day, that reticular activating system lights up your brain with this belief and the thought. And then the amygdala creates a positive emotion, probably releases a little bit of dopamine. And then your prefrontal cortex, it goes to work figuring out, okay, how are we going to get this done? Like, we just found out we're going to have an amazing day. So how are we going to get this done? And so then your brain actually starts looking for things that are going to make it a great day and to bring it to life. And this is the science, some people call manifestation. I'm just talking about simply how our brain works and some of the habits that scientists have learned over the last few decades. So we're going to do a little mindfulness activity where we're just going to get present, and then we're going to do some visualization work. So the mindfulness activity really is to let your brain know that you're here right now. We don't need any cortisol. A little dopamine might be good, but we're just going to start becoming present so that we can visualize the future. What I'd like for you to think about is, if today is December 31st, 2024, and you are meeting with friends and family, and you're so excited about all that you've been able to accomplish and who you've become in 2024. But just envision, where are you living? What do your senses pick up? How do you feel? How are you different in December of 2024 than today? What's changed for you? What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? Just really think outside of your current situation and what could be possible for you. Where will you be? How will you be feeling? And so with that, just create a loose vision statement of what you envision for yourself in 2024. Okay. I'm on back. And hopefully that was productive. We're going to put you guys into some breakout groups to share and maybe get to know each other a little bit better. After we finish this exercise, then we will start moving into the goals, which is the name of the workshop, which you're probably really here for. But I think this is the important kind of ground, laying the foundation work for us.
I wanted to share something. Just kind of piggybacking on what you said earlier, Wendy, about the power of our minds and the power of intention. And I realized last night how not only the power of intention, but the power of writing things down and journaling really is. So about a year or so ago, I did a workshop with you, Wendy, and I pulled up the workbook last night that I had did in your class, and I flipped to the back to read the letter that I wrote myself of how I wanted to be a year in the future. I don't even remember when it was, maybe a year and a half ago. And I was just blown away because I was reading this letter to myself that I had written about where I'm going to be, and this writing it in the present tense. And I'm literally currently living out all of those things I wrote about myself. I was just almost moved to tears last night. I was like, no way. I was talking about, I'm living in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm hiking and doing all these things, and I'm doing them, and I'm reading this list of things and just thinking wow, I did that, or I wrote that down, and I made it happen. And so I think just our intentions are more powerful than we really think, and our thought process and how we think about ourselves and others just really comes to fruition. So it's been really eye-opening, and it's been great.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Valkyrie. The workshop was last December that we did. So it's been probably almost exactly a year. I know what a big transition that was for you to make that move from Austin to Portland. And so, kudos to you, and you are absolutely right. It is when we write it down or when we say it aloud, our brain goes to work. Oh, we're doing that. Okay. What needs to happen? And also, the other thing it does is it starts to put things in your path, because that RAS, that reticular activating system, it's looking for things that you've said are important. So it's oh, okay, job openings in Portland. Let me put that in your purview, because there are over 6,000 thoughts that we think every day, but our brain is okay, what's the important ones? Where should we put our focus? And so you're absolutely right. It's writing it down, and it's also that connection, because in that workshop we did sound bath therapy, meditation. We did lots of journaling, and so it's that mind body connection. And the work that we're going to do in the goals now is really understanding how those goals are going to make us feel. Because at the end of the day, it's not a job title or a brand new car or even a trip that you want to take. It's how those things are going to make you feel that you want. So thank you for sharing, Valkyrie.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Next week, I'll share the final clips from the workshop as we dive into the goal-setting activities. If you're interested in attending our retreat in January, check out the page on my website at wmbcoaching.com/retreat for more information and to sign up. Thank you so much for listening, and I just wish you all a beautiful holiday this weekend. Enjoy.